Each crisis is more dangerous than the one before. So 1998, 2008 we're going to get to a point. We may be there where the crisis is actually bigger than the Fed, bigger than the Fed's ability to stop. We are uncomfortably close now. It's impossible to know exactly how close because it's a complex dynamic system and you can make very good predictions on complex dynamic systems as to the magnitude of the crisis, but it's very hard to get the exact timing. But I can say that we're uncomfortable now. We've been there twice before. In recent years, 1998 we came within hours of shutting every market in the world. Began with a Russian default. By the way, August 17, 1998 Russia defaulted on their external debt and the ruble was grossly devalued. That started a global liquidity crisis went around the world, ended up in my lap at long-term capital management where we had $1.4 trillion of derivatives. And everyone goes, oh, you know, long-term capital, you guys lost a lot of money in Russia. We didn't. We lost maybe $100 million in Russia, but we lost closer to $4 billion on everything else, because in a liquidity crisis people sell everything. It's not a question of do you have Russian bonds, like no, they sell everything. Spreads widen are not enough. Collateral margin calls people being blown out of their positions. That's what a global financial crisis looks like. We cured that with a $4 billion all cash injection sponsored by the Federal Reserve and 2 rate cuts, one on emergency basis by Greenpan. We got through that, but we came within hours of shutting every market in the world. Same thing in 2008. We all know, you know. September 15, 2008 Ling Brothers. Okay. People don't realize that, you know. Morgan Stanley was days away from failing. Goldman Sachs was days away from failing. You know, John Max said so at the time. He said Lehman was begging for help. He said, sorry, I got enough on my plate. We're worried about Morgan Stanley right now, you know. And then the Fed came in, and so think of his dominoes are falling. So all the dominoes are falling, and they're going to keep falling unless you truncate it, drop a wall in, and that wall was the Fed. But here's my point: each bailout gets bigger than the one before. Each crisis is more dangerous than the one before. You want assets that are going to be immune from a global liquidity crisis. What are they? Our land, real estate, gold, silver, you know. Fine art, you know. I see Andy Warhol. Marilyn Monroe has gone. They estimate $200 million. You could have bought that for $50,000. In the 1970s, that's a little more specialized, but there are, you know, natural resources, or water, you know, etc. Energy, oil, if you want to be in stocks. Okay, get stocks of companies that are based on natural resources there, such as Exxon Mobil, Chevron. I'm just giving these as an example, but there are a lot of ways to protect yourself. But you know, regular stock portfolio is not a good one, and you know, banks are going to be in stress. Money market funds are going to be in distress. That's where the liquidity crisis is. I point out that the dollar has been a cryptocurrency since at least 1979. That was the last year the Treasury issued a paper treasury note like it had a node. Maybe somebody's grandmother still has old one in the attic, but they had little, or almost like a, you know, stamps, like you peel off a coupon and take it down the bank and get paid. The last time they did that was 1979. So the dollar has been digital, and message traffic has been encrypted since around 1980. But I think in terms of the impact on the dollar, this is, you know, be careful what you wish for. And this was exactly what I was saying earlier in terms of second and third order effects, and I warned the Pentagon about this. I warned the Treasury about this because I know how economic sanctions work. I've been very involved in that from the point of view of the intelligence community, and also advising the government, but they can be powerful. But if you use them too much and too broadly, they actually lose all their impact because they're the people you're targeting. Say, well, okay, no, I'm out of the dollar system. You've done it one too many times, and this is an example of that. We've never frozen a central bank before. We have now. We've never kicked an entire country out of SWIFT with the exception of Iran, but that's much more isolated case we have now with Russia. And so instead of just sitting there saying, oh gee, you got me, we can say, okay, let's go to a new payment system, let's pick up a new currency. The Saudis are saying the same thing, and all of a sudden, if you're one of the top princes of Saudi Arabia, you know, maybe Mohammed bin Salman or any of the top princes, you know, you have a yacht in Monaco, you have a house in Aspen, or you have you know who knows how many houses and palaces and yachts around the world, private jets, and they're like, hey, actually all that stuff could be seized, because that's what we're doing to the Russian oligarchs. And by the way, it's not limited to oligarchs. We saw this kind of neo-fascism in Canada very recently with Chrysler Freeland was the deputy prime minister, freezing the bank accounts and the crypto wallets of the truckers. Canada went so far as to criminalize it if you supported the truckers under a recent interpretation of Canadian law through Chrysler Freeland, the deputy prime minister. That's criminal act. So I told Justin to come and get me, but my point being, the US debt crisis could ignite a long-term rally in gold. Since March 2020, the US added another $8 trillion in debt, and gold is up 50%. Buying gold and silver is a defensive strategy when you don't trust elected officials in Washington, D.C. having your best interest at heart. National Gold Group is America's #1 precious metals company. National Gold Group has the IRA fee waiver program. That means they will pay the fees on your IRA for up to 10 years on qualifying rollovers. Call 888-599-28A3 to learn about their retirement account fee waiver program. Mention free investing, and you'll always get best-in-class service from America's conservative precious metals leader. You can also go to their website, buyfiggold.com, using the link in this video description. So she's seizing the accounts of blue-collar truck drivers, and Biden seizing the accounts of oligarchs, but it's the same thing. Okay, blue-collar, you know, multi-billionaire, but it's the same thing. Suddenly Canada and the US too are the #1 #5 economy in the world. #6 maybe have frozen Canadian dollar and US dollar accounts of people they don't like. Now you can say it's for good reason, and Putin should have invaded Ukraine. I get it, but if you're a Saudi prince, if you're certainly Russian, if you're a Chinese oligarch, how comfortable are you with the dollar right now? I haven't met him personally. By the way, checked him out, looks like a thoroughly bright guy, but other than carrying Larry Fink's briefcase for a few months, he's a year maybe, he's never had a job outside of academia or government, so he doesn't really understand the real world and doesn't understand what we're discussing right now. So the answer the question was that they didn't think this to they don't understand these knock-on effects. They don't understand how the international monetary system actually works. They don't understand the blowback